Today, we pull back the curtain on one of the most jaw-dropping moments on Capitol Hill. A senator grills the U.S. Secretary of Education over a staggering trillion-dollar question: where did the money go? The TRIO and Gear Up programs were created to help low-income students access college. But what happens when billions of dollars flow in, and no one tracks the results? Buckle up. This isn't just a hearing, it's a reckoning.
Madam Secretary, I want to welcome, by the way, I want to ask you about the TRIO program that has been mentioned, and its sister program, Gear Up. We spend $1.858 billion a year on TRIO.
Yes.
That's $1,580 million a year. Is my math right?
I think that's right, sir.
And how long have we been spending $1,580 million a year on this program?
I'm not sure of the total length of time of the program.
More than 10 years?
Yes.
So that's over $1 trillion we've spent on this program. And in this program, this $1 trillion we've spent, we give this money, as I appreciate it, to colleges and universities to encourage poor kids to go to college. Is that right?
To provide some of those kids who have not yet been exposed to what it takes to get ready to go to college.
Okay. To encourage poor kids to go to college, right?
Yes.
Okay. And given that we've spent $1 trillion, how many poor kids who otherwise wouldn't have gone to college have gone to college and graduated?
A significant number, I would imagine.
How many?
I don't know exactly.
Isn't that a question we should ask?
I think so, and I'll be happy to get back to you with that answer. You know, the other thing about the...
But wait, Madam Secretary, I'm not fussing at you. Do we have that number?
I don't think so.
I'm looking, we don't have it.
I don't think so, because there is the...
Well, if we were... So we've spent $1 trillion, and we've given this money to universities, and they're supposed to encourage poor kids to go to college. But we don't know how many poor kids went to college who otherwise wouldn't have gone to college and graduated, right?
Correct.
Well, what do your audits show?
Well, that's the issue, and I mentioned it when I was...
Are you able to audit?
We're not. We're not able to audit, and there are constraints against the TRIO program for its accountability. The other issue with...
Well, but I'm sorry to cut you off, but I don't have much time. So we spent $1 trillion. We gave it to the colleges. We said encourage poor kids to go to college. We don't know how many kids went to college because you don't have the authority to audit. How do you know these universities are not just using the money to operate instead of encouraging poor kids to go to college?
I'm not sure.
You don't know how?
No.
Because you can't audit.
Correct.
Money that was supposed to help poor kids reach college, a noble cause. But the senator's question pierces through the idealism. How many poor kids who otherwise wouldn't have gone to college went and graduated? The answer, I don't know.
You understand hope is not a strategy.
Yes, sir.
I mean, if you told the average American, we just spent $1 trillion of your money, and we gave it to colleges and universities, and we said encourage poor kids to go to college, but we don't know how many kids went to college who otherwise wouldn't have gone and who graduated. You understand the average American would ask us what planet we just parachuted in from, right?
That's right. You know, Senator, if I may, there's one other issue on the TRIO program. What we have found
I'm going to run out of time. You can make it fast.
Take your time back then.
Let me ask you a question about our skirmish with Harvard. And I don't want to get into the merits. President Trump has said that Harvard is violating federal law and he's withholding their money. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And Harvard has responded, we've never violated federal law, but if we did, we give you a pinky promise that we won't do it again. Is that right?
Yes.
And then President Trump said, okay, no offense, but, you know, I just want to be sure. So why doesn't Harvard, I will give Harvard the authority to appoint a monitor, pick whomever they want. The federal government has the right to veto the pick. So if they pick their brother-in-law, that wouldn't be fair. And Harvard said, no, you just have to trust us. You have to accept their pinky promise. Is that basically what's going on?
Well, and not only that, but Harvard did respond to our request for negotiations with a lawsuit.
Well, but,
so we're in the throes of litigation.
If Harvard would just agree to a monitor, that would solve the problem, wouldn't it?
Might serve part of it. The provost is what vice provost that we've asked that would come on to be one of the monitors on that situation.
I'm way over. I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Just hope. And as the senator reminds her, hope is not a strategy. If you're shaking your head right now, click the subscribe button and join a community of people who care about where our tax dollars are going. We dig into these issues every week. The conversation takes a sharp turn. The senator pivots to Harvard. President Trump has accused Harvard of violating federal law and has cut off their funding. What's Harvard's response? Not data. Not transparency. Just a pinky promise that they won't do it again. And when asked to allow an independent monitor, someone to make sure they stay compliant, Harvard said no. Instead, they sued. $1 trillion program with no audit. A world-class university refusing oversight. And federal officials with no power to enforce accountability. The senator doesn't sugarcoat it. If you told the average American we spent $1 trillion and can't say who it helped, they'd ask what planet we just parachuted in from. This isn't about politics. It's about results. It's about transparency. It's about making sure the system works for the people who need it most, not just for institutions that know how to cash checks. This hearing wasn't just a political moment. It was a wake-up call. Whether it's TRIO, Gear Up, or Harvard, if we're spending billions, we deserve answers. Numbers. Accountability. Because in the end, hope isn't a strategy, and pinky promises aren't policy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. Because next week, we're breaking down the most expensive government program you've never heard of.